Happy Friday, everybody. I'm going live in multiple places. Hey, YouTube, look, you get to see the back of my phone as well. That's exciting. Good afternoon. Hi. This is my Friday. Ask me anything with a photographer here in the studio. And when I say ask me anything, I mean anything. We can talk about photography. We can talk about business. We can talk about technique. If you want to know about my dog or how my new health plan is going, whatever, we can do all that. I am streaming in multiple locations right now. So if you see me working between two things, that's what I am doing. Look, there you go. People pass my door. So that is the deal. I will also say in advance, please excuse me for drinking from a very large container while we're doing this. I've hired a coach for my dieting stuff. He wants a gallon a day. So we're tracking that. So, hi, hello, greetings, good afternoon. Hello, hi. I'm vamping while people are kind of coming in. So this is literally an ask me anything. So one thing that happened this week, and some of you who are coming in may see this, I had a post go insanely viral, almost at 3 million views now, which is weird. Super cool. Glad that it happened. I've gotten to meet a lot of people and see a lot of comments, but if you're joining this and you saw that post, which was about boudoir for men, which was not a post I expected to do anything at all. I was just answering somebody's question where they asked, why don't we see more boudoir photography with men? And, I just answered the question and did not at all expect that post to be at now almost like 3 million views. There's like 5,000 more of you now on TikTok. Question on TikTok, would you recommend, hold on, let me bring that question back up. Would you recommend trying a session to help with confidence postpartum? That is a great question. And there's a lot of gray area in that. A lot of it depends on you and where you are. And I'm going to use me as the example on this, right? So where I am in my fitness journey right now, to photograph myself in a boudoir type setting, I would not be comfortable stepping in front of the camera, but that's me in my head, right? Like, so if I was to photograph myself right now, I'm going to be looking at things that I don't like and I can't see past that. So that's a me thing. That has nothing to do with anyone's size or whatever. It's like I have photographed people who would be considered curvier or whatever words we're using, who are very confident in their skin and exude confidence on camera. And I photographed, size 2 people who dislike everything about how they look. So it really kind of depends on where you are on that scale. I know it's a trope in the photography world to tell everybody that no matter what, this is going to boost your confidence and whatever. And I think that is crap. Actually, and I think it's actually can be kind of damaging to people's psyche if they are having self-esteem issues. Then they get in there. Yeah, body dysmorphia is serious. Like I'm experiencing body dysmorphia right now. So it really depends on where you are. If you're in a place where you're going, I like what my body just did and all that, then maybe. But we can talk more about that. What's the best way to find someone who does male boudoir photography in my area? I know your fiance would love it. Google it. For one, just Google boudoir photographers in your area. That's going to be step number 1. Look at their portfolios and make sure that the work that they create is a style of work that you like. Okay. Now, most likely, you're not going to see a lot of men in their portfolio because, as I said in the video that went viral, a lot of men don't book these kind of sessions. A lot of men don't book just straight portrait sessions. Like men will typically book headshot sessions, no problem, but anything else Typically, they don't. Not that they never do, but typically, it just guys don't think about it. So I would start there and make sure that you like the style of work. Then I would contact that photographer and see if they're comfortable doing it and go through it that way. Not every photographer is going to be comfortable with it, as I talked about in the video, for various and sundry reasons. Um, Personally, I am like, everybody's welcome to come through this studio door, but there's guidelines too. His paintings are all AI in the background. Thank you, Teddy. None of those in the background are paintings, for one. There's not a single painting up there. Those are all photographs. And they're all photographs that I created with my camera. But good try. Is a good attempt to troll, but thank you for allowing me to talk about things in the background. Yes, someone does not know me well. That is correct. What would I say is the strangest or most unusual thing you've been asked to photograph? A pig. That one was interesting. I did have hey, Teddy, buddy, you know what I can do if you're going to troll? I can just go ahead and just block you, buddy. Have a nice day. Yeah, we don't put up with trolls here. I just block. It's not a big deal. Um, yeah, I had a woman bring a pig and I photographed her. Pearl, mini Pearl was awesome. I think that's probably the strangest. How can you get into photography as a broke man with no camera? Do what you got to do to raise money to buy an entry level camera. That's going to be step number one. Find that hustle. And then just start. And like entry level cameras these days aren't crazy expensive. I started, and this is years ago, with a Nikon D3100. So it was a consumer DSLR. I think for the camera body, 2 lenses, bag, memory card, biggly boo. It was like $300, $400. Now that was 13 years ago. So very, very different. Worst case scenario, start with your phone. Like the camera, phone cameras have come a long way, and you'd be amazed what you can do with a phone. I want one to my boss. I want one for my boss, so when he wakes up, he sees a masterpiece of a worker. I can photograph you to hang over your desk. That's cool. That's cool. Yes, a lot of people. Where am I located? I'm in Louisville, Kentucky. All of my info is with the link in my bio, so you can, if you're curious about booking a session for your husband, what have you, links in the bio. There's links, like once you go to my link tree, there are links to everything that I do. So professional headshots, portraits. I think I have my pet portrait thing there too. I have the class that I put together for photographers for making short form video for photographers. My Amazon store for stuff that I use here. Everything is there. But thank you, and you're very welcome. Thank you for asking. What if a client? That is a ridiculous question, Joshua. How do you start wedding photography? I have all the equipment, just need to start somewhere. If you've never shot a wedding before, I would recommend getting in touch with a wedding photographer and seeing if you can second shoot with them or tag along. And I would probably, because a wedding day is hectic and there's a lot going on. I only shot like 8 weddings when I started. Badass Bird Talk says, don't start wedding photography. Yeah, I don't shoot weddings. I did 8 and have no desire to do any more of them. But yeah, I lost my ADHD is showing. That's fun. Love the dancer. Oh, thank you. Yeah. That's Amelia. I have photographed Amelia a couple times. It's actually my first magazine cover that I ever had was with Amelia. Different photo, but it's because of her. Yeah, wedding photography is stressful. And the few weddings that I did, I was, lower budget weddings. Um, so they didn't have wedding planners. So I also ended up, kind of becoming not kinda, I kind of became the planner of the day. I have theater experience before doing. I worked as a sound designer engineer for like 20 years. So I needed to take people's days and break it down to where are we going to be at what times because I needed to know what shots to get. So I kind of ended up running the days on a lot of them, not all of them. But no, wedding days are stressful, and like I would get how do I what I refer to as like a wedding hangover. And I don't drink when I'm working, but like the day after, I would just feel drained. I would have a headache and just be tired. And then I was stressed like leading up to the wedding. I was always stressed because like, oh, what about this? What about this? What if I miss the kiss? What if I have to body check Uncle Bob or whatever else? And I have body checked Uncle Bob. Um, so there was that. And then like after the wedding, because I was still really new in the business as well, I would be freaked out. Like, what if they hate the photos? So it's a super important day in everyone's life. So everything, yeah, it's high pressure. It's high pressure, man. And but like I also like I don't put up with BS on one of my weddings. Mom of the bride was being a little unruly and was making the bride's day rather uncomfortable. So I ended up pulling mom of the bride aside and was like, "Hey, look, she's not going to get this day again. She needs to enjoy this. You are stressing her out. I need you to go sit down and relax because this isn't about you. This is her day." And then everything got much calmer. So, you know, have I ever tried a model posing app? No, I've not done a posing app, but what I do is I will often, like much like they do on many editorial sets or whatever, like I'll keep a Pinterest board up of like pose ideas and vibe ideas and those sorts of things. Some people call that cheating. I don't. I figure if they do it on big fashion shoots, whatever. Because sometimes in the middle of a shoot, words will fail you. It just happens. So it's nice to be able to go, like, I turn my screen around and go, this is the base of the pose that we're aiming at. And then from there, we can riff and play. But a posing app, not so much because I don't want to have to like dig for my phone and do stuff. One thing I do have, hold on. I've got this study of pose by Coco Roca, and it's like completely irrelevant for clients, but it just kind of like breaks down like it's like 1,000 poses or something that she just busted out because she's awesome. So if you've not checked out Study a Pose, I highly recommend it. It's just fun, References and cheating people have been doing it. Yeah, absolutely. Do people bring items with them to use? Sometimes people do bring things, bring personal items to set or things that are sentimental. For example, in this portrait of these daughters, the scarves that they're wearing and the jewelry both belong to a grandmother. And so they wanted to have those included. So things like that happen fairly regularly. And I love that. I love it when I know that there's something personal. Thank you. That was a Christmas gift for their dad and made him cry. I got a video on Christmas morning of him just breaking down. It was great. Do I do couples boudoir sessions? I've not done any in the studio yet, but I will. So, and there's going to be some stipulations and some guidelines, as I've heard from other photographers who do couples boudoir sessions that they can get out of hand. So we're going to make sure that doesn't happen in the studio. But if I'm going to approach it as well, then it's going to be in the artistic style that I do. How do I recommend as a client, they could learn to pose better or just appear better. Just follow your photographer's lead. That's it. Because I'm going to coach and guide you through the entire process. So if you're trying to get it right because you can't see yourself, it's going to stress you out, right? But I will guide you. So, and I'm not trying to rush through questions. You guys are just asking awesome ones, and I love it. Favorite piece in my client closet, it's my silk scarves. Completely, for a lot of the boudoir work that I do, we use those a lot. And hey, good morning. So there's that. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's probably my scarves. And I don't have a huge client closet. I started to grow one a couple years ago, and just nobody was interested. So I was like, well, I'm not going to spend an F ton of money on dresses and stuff if nobody wants to wear them. That's okay. So I'm actually considering getting rid of all my dresses and gowns and things. Is there a certain type of photography I prefer over another? The styles that I do. So like my headshot style is very different than my portrait style. So headshots, I built the business on headshot photography. So professional headshots, actor headshots, etc. And I love doing that. And that was a tie over between my theater world and my photography world. I studied under Peter Hurley. If you're familiar, I was the first associate photographer in his training program in this area, in this region. And I was a mentor in his program as well. I don't think I'm technically a mentor anymore because I'm not active, but I did do that. My portrait and boudoir work, it's just a different style. I like the dramatic sort of lighting thing. And hey guys, because you're asking so many awesome questions, if I miss one, feel free to ask it again because these are fantastic and I want to answer them. I don't do like a lot of like outdoor street sort of stuff, but I've been thinking I might start playing with some different styles just to play. Like I've actually had a kind of epiphany recently that spending as much time on social media and creating for social media as much as I do, that it's sucking my creativity elsewhere. And so I want to start spending some time around other things that inspire me again, because I've gone through a period of mental burnout, and so I'm trying to work through that, and I need to be inspired again. Thoughts on doing diptych prints manually with film and photo paper? I've not touched paper and chemicals in a long time. I used to love to do it, but like that was like 1996, so it's been a minute since I've smelled like Stop Bath. How do you feel the model bringing extra person for a boudoir shoot? Great, awesome. I want people to be comfortable in here. What I typically recommend, and I have a really big space, right? So like this is my seating area, and then like directly behind these cameras right now is my shooting space. What I will recommend is while we're working, I would say have the person they bring with them either sitting out here or sitting in my makeup room where they're not directly watching the situation, but they're like right there. Everything's wide open. The reason for that is when people feel like they're on stage, they feel like they're performing and they get uncomfortable. So for example, Amelia, dancer photo in the back, I was doing headshots for her and her husband years and years and years ago. And her husband stepped in front of the camera first. He was great. We worked through it. Boom. Great headshots for him. Amelia stepped in front of the camera, and I'd photographed her before. Like we knew each other, but like we were working, and I would take a shot, and I caught her keep looking over at him while we were working, and like he was on his phone, not paying attention, but she wasn't loosening up. So I finally looked at him, and I'm like, dude, go get a coffee. You bugger off. So he did, no problem. And as soon as he was out of the room, boom, she relaxed. So that said, backing it up, if somebody was to say during a boudoir shoot, yeah, I really want them in the space with me, then they're going to be in the space with us. Comfort comes first in here before anything else. So Used to travel a lot to Paducah for my husband's work. How far? It's only a couple hours from here to Paducah. I've never made the drive. It's not crazy far. I would love to be able to be like, oh, it's only X amount of hours, but I don't know off the top of my head. But it's not crazy. Where's the jacket from? This particular jacket is just an off the shelf thing. It actually, because of my weight loss journey, it's too big now. It doesn't fit right. Like look how it should, like look, see how boxy this is. Like if somebody stepped in front of my camera like that, I'd be like, no way. So like yeah, it's too big. I got to get a new one. Actually, at my size, I'm gonna have to start having everything tailored, which is annoying. Do I have a mobile light setup for lighting that you could share? So like if I don't do a lot mobile other than like headshots. So if I go on location for headshots, I take my headshot setup. So it's the exact same thing that I would use in a studio. So for the front setup, it's 3 Pulsey Buff Alien B B800s with a 1x3 softbox on each, and then 2 lights for the background. So very, very simple. The feeling of burnout isn't. I think the feeling of burnout is everywhere right now. I think the state of the world and everything going on is just our brains are tired and our hearts are tired. So it's a part of it. And thank you for the looking dapper thing. Comment. Listen to me. I've especially as I've gotten okay. So stagehand era, Ben Markham. I was a punk rock kid, growing up. So, and then through my stagehand era, it was cargo pants, flannels, all that sort of stuff. And then once I started the photography business, it was a lot of jeans and t-shirts. But as I got rolling more, and I don't know if it's age, I don't know what it is. I just, I've always enjoyed wearing nicer clothes and looking nice. It's just my day-to-day function, it didn't make sense. So as I got further into this and as the business grew, I was like, no, I need to dress the part. And I feel better when I'm dressed than I do. Like a couple weeks ago, I almost completely missed a headshot. You've never happened before. I just forgot to check my calendar on Friday when I left, and I had a headshot session early Monday morning. So I took a leisurely morning getting here, and I come like rolling into the studio at 10:15, and I get a notification on my phone at 10:20. It's like, you've got a headshot session in 10 minutes. And I was like, oh my God. So I scrambled and got the but I was in a t-shirt because it was just me like doing work in the office that day, I thought. And I normally would not be client facing in just a t-shirt. Client didn't care, completely fine, but I cared because I don't like presenting that way with clients. So did I ever do concert photography? No, I have not done such things. I would, well, I would have back in the day. Now I want to be in bed by 9:30. I don't like being up that late. It's I don't know. And I don't like loud. I don't like big groups of people. I don't know. So once upon a time, I would have done it. Well, now I want to see some of the outfits that you showed up to shoot in. It's like, good if you're gonna throw that out there. So, I must have missed something. Dressage. I'm sorry if I missed your comment. Y'all keep this going. This is awesome. Sleep is the best, and it's like as I've gotten older, it's gotten more. Do I ever travel to LA? I'd really love to. I have never actually been to LA. Not once. The closest I've been is like Palm Springs, Vegas. So thank you so much. I am having a wonderful day. Thank you. I would go to LA if there was good reason to go out there. I don't love flying, if I'm being honest with you. I have no problem with the act of flying. Like that's actually really great. I'm a large human being. Like I'm 6'3", 6'4", something like that. So trying to fit my big old self on a plane is uncomfortable. I just don't. And flying these days, like the past couple times I've flown, have not been great experiences. Just getting through TSA and all the stuff, I just don't like it. Not that I won't if there's a good reason. Um, yeah, actually, I really want to check out the vibe in LA too, because like it's going to be so different than what Louisville, Kentucky is. Or I've been to New York a million times and Chicago a million times, but I think, and speaking just from what I see, I think it's going to be a completely different vibe, and I'm really curious about that. So I get one person saying it's beautiful here despite the media, and the next person saying not missing much. I don't know. It's worth checking out. It's the same issue. I just have to get the yeah, I always aim for that, and I don't make the income at this point to pay for first. I wish I did, but I don't. So my dog eats expensive food. Um, Heard there are great photographer schools in New York. Is that so? I can't speak to photography schools in New York because I didn't go to school for it. So, full disclosure, I am a two-time college dropout. I majored in Mario Kart at Purdue. Apologize. You're good. You're good. So yeah, and then after Purdue, where I was is in the theater program, and I did all my theater work. I just didn't go to classes. Um, Stayed out of school for a while. Came back to Kentucky a couple years later. Went to University of Louisville for a year. At that point, I'd already been working in the professional theater industry, and so I was in the theater program at the University of Louisville, and all of the professors were out of date by about 20, 25 years, and like weren't really hip to what was happening in the industry at that point. So I was very bored very quickly. And then close to the end of my first year at University of Louisville, I got a call from Actors Theater of Louisville looking for a sound technician. So I made the decision to drop out for a second time, and I went to work and haven't been back. Uh, yeah, and I'm sure there's advantages to being self-taught, but I'm sure there's some advantages to professional taught as well. I mean, there's tomato tomato. I'm sure there's probably a whole lot of things that I don't know. And thank you. I could probably do a whole series of videos on those stories, but what I'm finding is nobody gives a crap about my personal stuff when I when I post it. And that's not a fishing for compliments. I don't mean that at all. It's just the way the algorithms work, and so much of the content that I create is photography related that a lot of my audience are are here for that. And I'm happy to share it. I mean, please ask questions. Please, please, please. Um, so, and I started to, on my YouTube channel, doing some more like day in the life vlog stuff, but they didn't do much. Not that I won't do them anymore. I just kind of, whatever. But no, I'm here for y'all. Ask questions. I will tell you anything. I am any of the rage bait stuff I don't want to do. Actually, so I'm starting a second channel on both this account and YouTube for my fitness journey stuff. And one of the things I have a video on both going out about is like I hate the fitness influencer rage baity. I lost 100 pounds in 2 weeks, blah blah blah. It's like, man, it's not what it's like. So I feel the same way about the photography stuff. It's like I don't need to rage bait anybody. I would rather, if I can help some folks out by answering questions, that's awesome. Or if I can, inspire a few people, that's awesome. Or if people who aren't photographers but just want to be seen in art, or have headshots that get them work, if I can do that, that's awesome. Like I don't. Like when I was learning all the social media stuff, there was a lot of things being like, you've got to make content that's controversial because that's how you get. But it's like, man, I don't want controversy. Like, I don't want to make people mad. I want to, there's enough of that in the world. Like the reason that on all news outlets, like all of the headlines are negative all the time, other than there's a lot of negative in the world, it's because it sells better, right? And so it's like people stay in a constant state of anger and rage and anxiety. It's like I don't need to add to that. That's crap. I mean, let's put a little pretty out into the world. When I was a sound designer, thank you. When I was a sound designer, and people would talk to me about it, and I was like, no, Mike. My job as a sound designer, 9/10 of the time, is to not be noticed. If most of the time, if somebody walks away, going, talking about the sound design, then I'm messed up. There's a few exceptions. Uh, but then the other part of my job is to take people out of their lives for 2 hours at a time. Let me take you out of the stuff that's crappy and just let you relax and enjoy. It's one of the things I started to dislike about the theater industry later in my career is so many of the new works coming out were just heavy and depressing. And it's like, I don't want to pay $50 or $100 for a ticket to go sit and be depressed, man. I want to walk away smiling. Yes, there's more than enough chaos, and thank you. Yeah. No, I like Zennies better. I'm going with it now. Um, if I come to LA, I may take you up on that. There may be a husky with me though, so you will need a vacuum because he will leave husky glitter everywhere. If I weren't a photographer and you weren't a theater guy, where would you have landed? That is a great question. It depends on what point in life. Earlier in life, I would have probably ended up working in a kitchen, chef, sous chef situation, which it's really similar to and I've worked in kitchens. So, working back a house in a restaurant is very similar to working back a house at a theater. Same energy, same amount of of everything. And I loved working in a kitchen. It was a lot of fun. So it's like watching The Bear with my wife. I'm able to be like, that is accurate. That is not. That would get you locked in the locket or the walk-in, or there's also the account that I really love on TikTok, Bistro Huddy. I because I'm like, that has happened in my kitchen. That has happened in my kitchen. My servers have done that. It's great. Today, oh, I didn't know Stephen Colbert was writing the new Lord of the Rings. I don't know how I feel about that. That's a good. I just learned something. I need to process it. Today, if photography was a thing, I wouldn't go back to theater at this point. Wouldn't happen. If I had to do something else, I might train dogs because that jerk face right there got me deep into dog training. So, and I love working with dogs. I don't know what I would do. Some of it would depend on the financial situations as well. There's other businesses that I've considered starting, but I think whatever I would do, I would have to be working for myself or be the head of a thing. I don't play well with others. By the time I was leaving the theater and enough stupidity had gone on there, I just wasn't feeling it anymore. And so I don't know. Actually, when I was first starting the business, a job popped up at Rue La La, which is a online retailer sort of thing. And they just needed like a on-call fashion photographer is what they call it. And it was like stupid work. It's like model would step in front of the camera, you click, turn around, click, go. And then they'd get dressed in something else. Like we were shooting from like the nose to like waist. Like it was nothing. And they would do things. And like, I was like there for a week and a half. And they'd come to me in the morning and go, okay, we need you to shoot this many pieces today. And I was like, that's awesome. I will work as fast as the stylists get my model dressed. So, and like, yeah, that's great. We need you to shoot this many pieces. And I was like, I don't care. I'm not counting. So yeah, they would come around like midday or whatever and be like, okay, how many pieces have you shot today? And I was like, I have no idea. I couldn't tell you. And they're like, well, you're supposed to be counting. And I was like, I told you I wasn't going to. Have a nice day. So that, or like when I would need to go to the bathroom, I would just go to the bathroom. It's like, you don't get to tell me when I can go to the bathroom. Bugger off. So all that to say, I've become a very bad employee. Yeah. Okay. So see, yeah, I'm not the only one. I don't like people telling me what to do. And it's actually funny, as I was getting signed on with the fitness coach I have right now, and my wife's worked with him before or whatever. I was like, oh, this is going to be brutal because he's going to tell me what I can eat for the next, couple months. And I don't like being told what to do. And his results are going to be fantastic. I have zero doubts about that. But, my Gen X Scorpio steps up and is like, you can't tell me what to do. You're not the boss of me, even if I am paying you. So, so far so good. We're almost a full weekend, and I've yet to call him names. So that's why you're the GM, right? But you've got people above you, right? So like people can still tell you what to do. Like when I left the theater, I was also head of department. So not only did I not like dealing with my bosses, I didn't like dealing with my employees either. So now I work alone. Like the closest I get to working with anybody is my makeup artist. I completely understand. I apologize for drinking out of the large container. Coach wants me to drink a gallon a day, so I'm making sure that I track it. What's my favorite theater performance? All right, so let's go to my favorite sound designs, ones that I've done. There's one that probably nobody here has heard of called Neighborhood 3 Requisition of Doom, which is a brand new play. So the theater where I worked, we did get shoot first on a plastic church on Monday. Oh, that's awesome. I may be shooting some of that soon. Yes, exactly. So Neighborhood 3, the theater where I was, we did a new play festival every year. It's what put our theater on the map. It was the Humana Festival of New American Plays. And we would fully produce, depending on the year, between 6 and 9 plays in 6 weeks time. It was insanity. And like full set, full design, everything. We did it in rep. So we'd work 120-hour weeks, no days off. It was insane. Neighborhood 3 Requisition of Doom was Moose, and don't let me forget that one. I'm going to come back to it. This world that took place in it, so it was supposed to be like an MMO RPG, so think like World of Warcraft, and we were creating the world. So it was like this really deep, rich sound design. I actually started playing World of Warcraft to understand that world better. So I had that, but then like really effing heavy metal music. Like I had these samples of various things. So I built these loops and these, it was such a cool sound design. It was and it would peel your face off. Another one that I did that I loved was 9 Parts of Desire, which was a one-woman show based around 9 different women in Iraq. So one woman played all of the roles. And it was a really deep and interesting show. The sound design was rich and beautiful. One that I'm known for here in Kentucky is Dracula, which was a seasonal favorite that we did at Actors Theater. The show had been done before I got a hold of it. I redesigned the show when I got it. One of the first shows that I composed music for was Dracula. Edith Can Shoot Things and Hit Them, which was another Humana show where I got to compose again. I had a lot of fun sound designs. So I could probably keep going. Music out of the background during a boudoir shoot. If so, what do you listen to? Okay. So that kind of, there's some days where I go, I need to drive the client mood. And then there's other days where I'm like, I'm having a bad day. I need to drive my mood. More often it's about the client. So let's just go with, in general, I'll try to keep it kind of low key and chill. One of my favorites for boudoir shoots and portrait shoots has been FKJ. If you're not familiar, just like tell your speaker to play FKJ. It's really, really just good background chill kind of music. Um, yeah, FKJ. Like if you okay, I'm gonna show my age. If you are familiar with Maxwell back in the 90s, FKJ, I would say is like the modern equivalent, just kind of chill background stuff. So um, thank you. This guy is metal. Thank you. Um, I think so. He might be on Spotify. I don't have Spotify. My wife keeps paying for the Amazon Music, so we roll with that because we don't need to be paying for two music services. I got to tell you what, though. Speaking of like music and streaming services and stuff, so there's an account here on TikTok that inspired me. It's Life Has Surface Noise. Love his account. It's fantastic. I was like, I want a record player again. So like I got a record player for Christmas. Makes me very, very happy. And I've been growing because like we got rid of like all of our physical media my wife got rid of all of our physical media years ago. I think we saw some DVDs. Um, so got a record player. We've been building our record collection, and there's been something so fantastic about like being very intentional about sitting down and listening to music again, because like with the speakers with like Spotify and Amazon Music and all that, it's fine, but you can like scream in a thing to play whatever, and then you can go like F off and do whatever. But there's been something really great about being like, I'm gonna put on Disintegration and just experience this album from tops to tails. And so like getting intentional about how I'm enjoying life again has been kind of magical. I mean, so much for like, this is going to sound stupid. So I have an electric lock on the studio door. Reason I have an electric lock on the studio door is this studio, unlike all my other studios that I had in the past, is street access. So my door goes like right up to the thing. So in other studio locations, if I'd forgotten to lock my door, not a big deal. The building is locked up. It would still make me uneasy, but not a big deal. This one, it would be a big deal because then there's nobody could walk in. So I was finding myself getting home at the end of the day, and I'd go, oh no, did I lock the studio? I live across town. so I put an electric lock on it so I can check it from home. What I was doing forever is like I'd get to the studio and I would unlock the studio door from my phone before I got here. Not a big deal, but still there's a disconnect. So like in the past several months, I've gone back to using my key, and it sounds like such a little thing. But there's something about that tactile opening the door for the day that sets my day off differently. And I realize how woodgy, owl huggy, crystal smoky that sounds, but there's just something to it, and the same at the end of the day. Like when I lock up, it's done, and you feel everything turn. So I'm trying to, in that regard, with life experience, I'm trying to add some friction back in. I think things have gotten too frictionless, and I think it takes away a little bit of the joy of it. So I don't know. Maybe that's just old man yells at clouds sort of stuff. But your studio's in your house and it feels great. Like you're 80. My studio used to be in my house. I totally get that. But I was lucky. It was just in its own room, which is now my bedroom. So there's at least closing the door for the day. I literally had a moment today, speaking of buttons on things, I was walking around the studio doing something. And I was like, I'm this close to throwing my cell phone away and putting a landline back in my house just because I don't want to be connected all the time. Oh, you built the house specifically for your studio. That's awesome. Our house is built in 1908. It was like one of the first houses on the block. So it's this, big old late Victorian, early Edwardian sort of thing. That comes with all the problems that a house built in 1908 comes with in 2026. So it was really cool. People coming like, oh, I love your house. And I'm like, oh, I got to fix that plaster. And the upstairs air conditioning is hot garbage juice. And, so I would love to have a house built for the studio. Well, yes and no. Because there is something about leaving the house and like feeling like I'm starting work. You're on 165 acres. Oh my God. I would take 165 acres today. You would never hear from me again if I was on 165 acres. What was the most depressing? The Arrow by USM gorgeous. Yes, Old Louisville is gorgeous. What was the most depressing paint stroke in my life? Oh, brother. Yeah, where do you want to start? Um, so okay. I said ask me anything. So I'm a child of divorce. My mother has been married multiple times. She's on marriage number 6, but 3 and 6 are the same guy. Love him. Love him very dearly. So there's all sorts of stuff that goes along with that. Um, you know, okay, let's go with one of the more depressing that still F's with me today. One of my friends was murdered around Christmas several years ago. And I had spoken to her a week before it happened. I was homesick, and she called. And we were talking about this guy that it was her husband's brother who's mentally ill, and she was worried about it. And we talked to her about it. And then a week later, her, in a very gruesome way. So, I I did sit through his trial to be their support for her mom. So that was tough. And I still think about her a lot. That'll kind of, that's the sort of thing that sticks with you. So good question. There's a million more things I could throw in there, but I don't want to depress the stream. So, but yeah, backing up to Old Louisville. Yes, Old Louisville is gorgeous. It is one of the country's oldest collections of Victorian mansions, in a all combined in one area. If you get the chance, oh yeah. I will elaborate on anything that you'd like. Feel free to ask questions. Happy to chat about those. Her name was Lindsay Loesch. If you want to look her up, and you will find all of the details of what happened, and how many bags they got to take her out in. So sorry. With Old Louisville, they do a couple great tours through the year. So there's a haunted tour that a gentleman does around Halloween, and he talks about all the various hauntings that there are or supposedly are in Old Louisville. And I am a believer in that sort of thing. And then a lot of the houses do Christmas tours. So like some of the big mansions, they completely tart themselves up, and then they do tours through Old Louisville. Some really gorgeous stuff. Oh, thank you so much. A couple people have said something similar, and I really, really appreciate. Whenever you want to do a photo shoot, let me know. We are here and ready for you. Yeah, so like I've experienced enough of the haunted stuff in my life, and felt that my house is haunted, so I experienced it there. We are only the 4th owner of our house. Oh, y'all just coming at me with dude wah, killing me. Um, so our house was built in 1908. We're the 4th owner. The first like long-term owners were a set of, I have many creepy haunted stories. First long-term owners of our house were a group of sisters. They are the Cummings sisters who own the house. We know 2 of them died in the house. We know Miss Nell had a brain aneurysm. I think it was Nell. Yeah, it was Nell. Was coming down the stairs to breakfast and had a brain aneurysm. And then Rose died in the house. We don't know which one, if not both of them are there. I've walked through them. So for me, when you walk through something, there's a feeling that you can get. There's also cold spots are a thing. We don't have roses and anywhere around the house, and don't keep them in the house because the animals would destroy them. But there's frequently smell of roses, like heavy. My wife was down cleaning around fireplace, and it's an old coal burning fireplace. We don't use it because we don't burn coal. but she was there, and nobody else was home, and something touched her on the back. So we've got that. At my old studio, is there a video tour of my house? No, not currently. You'll occasionally see me do videos from there. Um, Tell us how much I love my wife very, very dearly. She is any woman that can put up with me as long as she has um, deserves sainthood. Our courtship was very, very brief. All right, so the story. Working at Actors Theater of Louisville, she came in as a wig master, wig designer. Came in for a meeting early. She actually wasn't supposed to be on contract yet. And sitting in this meeting, she walks in and across the room. Meeting had already started, and I looked at her and was like, "Damn!" And that was about as far as that got. But I was like, "That's the new wig girl." So then I didn't talk to her for months. Like we'd like pass each other or whatever. We'd be in a meeting, and I'd be like, "Hey," right? And I just wouldn't talk to her. I was like a total teenager. It was stupid. So a buddy of mine, fellow sound designer, came in to design a show, and I was assisting him. So we were in a meeting together, and whatever. So all of us were there. After the meeting, he and I went to go have a conversation to kind of strategize about what he needed going into rehearsals. And I was like, "Dude, the new wig designer, awesome." And he was like, "Why don't you go talk to her?" And I was like, "Absolutely not. We're not. Why? No." And he's like, "Look, you're my assistant. You have to do what I tell you to do. So when I'm back in October, I need to know what color her eyes are." And I was like, "You son of a bitch." Blah, 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 blah. Things go forward. She was doing haircuts for charity one day, and my hair was much longer at the time, and I would just occasionally get it trimmed up. I didn't do much to it. But it was like, so the whole gag was like, go cut your hair. You put like $5 in the bucket or whatever you could do. And she was doing it for the Humane Society, which, animal lover. So yeah, let's go do that. Sat in her chair. We made awkward small talk or whatever. She and I remember this next bit a little bit differently. She says this happens different days. I feel like it all happened the same day, but the gist is still there. So finish haircut. I go back to my office, and we both worked in the basement, and I was sitting there working, and I finally go, "You know what? Damn it, go." So I walk back to her office, and she's not cutting somebody's hair. She's sitting there tying a wig. And I was like, "Hey, do you want to go grab a whiskey on Saturday?" Because we had both talked about whiskey. And she's like, "Sorry, friends are going to be in town. I can't do it." And I was like, "Awesome, Friday then," and walked away, right? Which is not me. I am not that guy. And so I get back to my office, and a Google chat pops up, and she's like, "Yeah, all right, I guess Friday then." So I'm sitting there just stunned, staring at my computer, right? So another sound designer friend of mine who I shared the office with me, he comes walking in, and he's like, "Dude, are you okay?" And I was like, I told him what I did, and he was like, "That's smooth." And I was like, "It was an accident. That's not me. What are you talking about?" So we went on that date, and then we had other dates. About a month later, I started proposing to her. And I say a month later because like we're not like get on one knee and like if I'd done that, she would have laughed at me. And I'm not that guy. So like we'd just be like chilling out, and I'd be like, "You want to get married?" And she'd be like, "No." So that would happen all the time. Finally, like one Sunday morning, we're laying in bed watching Sunday Morning, Charles Osgood, because old. Good afternoon. And I was, we go, "You want to get married?" And she goes, "Fine." And all these many years later, we're happily. So it was less than a year between our first date and getting married. But we've been together for many, many years. We put up with each other's crap while at the same time not putting up with each other's crap. I can't imagine doing, a life without her. We joke. It's like if something were to happen to, like if we were to split or she wouldn't hear anymore or whatever, I was like, "I'm not getting remarried. I'll go back to World of Warcraft, but I'm not doing this again." So, yeah. So thank you for asking. She's great. Love her to death. It's completely her fault that I'm back on a fitness journey. Does she think, ah, the Jonathan Davis jokes? Oh, you're killing me, Smalls. Uh, so she didn't until I told her that social media was hounding me about it, and I showed her a picture of Jonathan Davis, and she's like, "Oh yeah, no, I see it." When my hair was shorter and my beard was shorter, I got David Harbour all the time. When I so like anytime there'd be a new season of Stranger Things, I would get much David Harbour love. But since growing out the beard and growing my hair back out, it's I get more Jonathan Davis. Okay, so there was a trend on social years ago. It was like a four thing grid, and it was like me at the office, me at the thing, but me on Tinder or whatever. So it's like so as a joke, like I did like me in the three different things, and then it's like the me on dating profiles. I plugged in the photo of David Harbour doing the Hopper dance from Stranger Things, and I tagged him in it. And he reposted it like to his stories and tagged her. And everybody's like, swipe right, ladies, or whichever one accepts the thing. I don't know. I was married before I was, but no. So yeah, and I know like Jonathan Davis wears a kilt too, and I'd love to be able to be like, yeah, Jonathan Davis looks just like me, but he's older than me, so I can't even do that joke because I checked. So, but no, the post, the one that's at almost 3 million views now. There's so many Jonathan Davis jokes, and then like anytime I post anything on YouTube, I get a ton of it. I have no problem with Jonathan Davis. I'm not a Korn fan. I don't dislike them, but I'm not a fan either. And probably a part of that is like in the late 90s, early 2000s, like when they were really hitting big, and I listened to a lot more radio, they got overplayed like crazy. So I got very bored with them very quickly. But same with like a lot of other bands. Like I love Nirvana, but I have such a hard time listening to them now because I heard like Smells Like Teen Spirit and Lithium and Heart Shaped Box so much. It's hard to break the association. Or Pearl Jam as well. Love Pearl Jam, but like if I never hear Jeremy again or Even Flow or Alive, way too soon. I mean, songs like State of Love and Trust are so much better. So, but good questions. I'll take it. You've had a lot of good questions today. Oh, how do I not have any hearts on this? Yes, I'm shameless. I'm like, I don't have any hearts. Oh, or do I have 2.8? I can't tell. I don't know because I've been watching the comments. So, what other questions do y'all have, y'all? This has been awesome. I don't think I've talked this much just nonstop. Mine is banned from your band set list. I see it. Sounding just Jonathan Davis. We'll see what I can do. I don't think it would be a big stretch for me. But like, if I was to dress for Halloween as anything, I don't even know what I would do. I might, do a Bray Wyatt sort of if you're a wrestling fan at all. Like do Bray with the lantern, because I could kind of pull that off at this point too. What kind of music do I like? Everything. So being a former sound designer, I've been exposed to so many different kinds of music. There's so much that I love. I love me some old school country, rock of, I listen to a lot of goth. I was a goth kid. This human being used to wear a lot of white makeup and black lipstick. My nails are long and black, a lot of fishnet. That was the thing. I was sitting for one of my brief stints at Purdue because my nails were good, which was surprising because I worked in a kitchen. I was sitting in a math exam one day and I had this like long black hair and I took like really good care of my hair. My nails are long. And I was sitting in this exam and I'm clicky on my desk. And a woman behind me is like, "It is so unfair that a guy can have better hair and nails than me." So, I have a question or your permission, but are you, oh, thank you. And you haven't questioned. No, you're good, man. Keep asking questions. I love all this. Here's kind of the way that I look at this whole social media thing is like, if I'm going to be out there, Please ask a question about photography. If I missed it, it's just because this thing is scrolling fast. If I ask it again, I got you. Uh, but with the social media thing, I kind of go, if we're gonna do this and as a thing, I need to be like, let's share it all, man. Like this is life. Like I'm a multidimensional creature, so it's not just photography. I like food and drink and art and all that. Back to the music question. Other things that I like. Love all different kinds of rock. I was goth. I was a punk rock kid. Louisville back in the day had an amazing punk rock hardcore scene, like amazing punk rock hardcore scene. Um, love jazz. Love the crooners. Uh, there's some Zydeco that I really love. Uh, Appears the guy. It was like I showed up in a lot of FYPs for the boudoir video. I've not had one go like that in forever, and it's not one that I expected to go. Glad that it did, and I hope it answered some questions. Um, so, thank you. Yeah, life's too short to not, like. I feel like with like music and food and all those things, like you should experience as much of it as possible. You know, have a lazy eye. Can you pose me to make it look less noticeable? It depends. So yes and no. And it depends on how it works and how, because every like lazy eye works a little bit differently. So I'd have to see it in person. But let me give you an example, one that I've dealt with. So I worked with a guy years ago and his eye would drift, right? Like, so if we were looking directly at you, you would watch it move across his face, right? And so it's like, okay, how do I work with that? So what I was able to do with him eventually is turn his head so the eye would go completely one way, wait for it to settle, then I'd bring his nose to camera, and as it would drift, I would shoot across it while doing the other coaching so we could get it when it was where it needed to be, right? And so it's just figuring out how to work with it. Sometimes, depending on how the lazy eye works, it's a matter of turning the face in a way where the lazy eye is away from the lens, depending on the eye. Sometimes it's toward. So there's a lot of variables. Like no one lazy eye acts the same. So it just sometimes we just have to play with it to see what works best. I hope that answers your question. I feel like it was kind of vague. There's so many, because the human body does so many interesting things. It takes playing with it. Do I happen to do newborn pictures as well? I don't. I tried once early in my career. I am not good at it. And like those newborn poses, I'm a big dude. Thanks. It's stable if I look up. Okay. So knowing that going into it, then we would start to try to work with that and see how it would go. So yeah, that's a good piece of information. Oh, TikTok's gonna make me do a puzzle. Make me do a puzzle. If you do a live like an hour or longer, they make you do a puzzle to make sure you're not just killing time. But I'm not good with the newborn poses, and I'm a big dude, and so I get worried that I'm gonna break something, and I don't want to do that. I have friends who are magnificent newborn photographers, and I just recommend people out to them, which is really what I do with anything that I'm either don't think I would do a good job at or don't want to do. I know people, send them out. Hello, hi, Shark. And then in quiet podcast, I'm not reading your names right, but hello, podcast. What's your podcast about? Do you need a photographer? I'll come on your podcast. I love doing podcasts. They're super fun. I'm actually surprised. I've had nothing. Well, it says, hold on. Like I've had nothing pop up on YouTube, but it says that I have a like. We'll see. So yeah, so it's actually not a black and white. That's a full color. He's just a black and white dog. That's my boy Cedric. And thank you. It's because of him that I bought the website LouisvillePetPortraits.com. Because he was here with me, and I was like, well, let's photograph you. And then after that, I was like, I wonder if anybody owns LouisvillePetPortraits.com, and they didn't, so I do. What's the most number of people you photographed? Oh hell, I don't know. I've been doing this since 2000. You mean like in one sitting, or overall? Like if we're talking about like one job, like one job I've done two in so over 2 days. I did a job with 200 people, so I did 100 people a day. That was not this past Christmas season, but the one before, for a big company doing all their headshots. My wife loved it when I did that because when I talk that much in a day, I get home and I don't talk. So, if you're talking about just like one portrait sitting, just like one photo, I did a family photo here in the studio. There were 16 for that one. So, do you happen to work with non-English speakers too? Yes, I will. If there's going to be a language barrier, it's sometimes helpful if we have an interpreter or we find other ways to communicate. So years ago, um, I got hired by a deaf professional wrestler to do some promo photos for him. And before he got there, I was like, how are we going to communicate? How are we going to make this happen? And so he got to the studio and he had somebody with him. And I was like, oh, he brought an interpreter. That's awesome. This just got a million times easier. And he got here. It was his brother that he brought with him, who was also deaf. So I was like, that didn't make it easier at all. But we figured it out, like during the shoot. It just like, some things we did, I pulled up a notes screen on my computer and we would type things back and forth. But then for coaching, or whatever, sometimes I would move the way that I needed him to move, and he picked it up and he followed. So like we figured it out, and the photos turned out great. So saw my video about Mail. Thank you for helping to. Oh, absolutely, my pleasure. Thank you for watching it. It was happy to. I didn't expect that post to resonate or to get the things that it did. I'm on some things that post is making me a little sad because there's so many people in the comments belittling themselves, and I hate that. So on another side of it, though, it's making me very happy because there are so many partners who were saying, I would melt if my partner did this, whatever. So it's like, it's been a really interesting mix of emotions with that post. What sucks about going viral, if you haven't done it, and I don't do it often. I'm not trying to sound like this is my second time I've gone viral like that in 5-6 years. Is in the middle of it, all you see is negative comments. That's all you're going to digest. You can be getting thousands and thousands of likes and thousands of follows and a lot of positive comments and shares, and there's all these positive things happening. You don't see those or at least I don't. Like all you see is the negative, and it weighs on you. So I actually had to take some time today to scroll through and find and there's a lot of positive, which is awesome. Who's your favorite photographer and what galleries do you enjoy the most? Oh, favorite is tough. There's so many. I mean, there's all the modern folk, Leibowitz and Seliger and Platon. I love a lot of Bruce Weber's stuff, Richard Avedon. Hurley's been experimenting with some new stuff that I really like. I just forgot her name. But she was an inspiration to Sue Bryce that I love. God, there's so many. My buddy, John David Pittman, I love his stuff. So many. So, golly. And what galleries do I enjoy the most? It's a lot of different museums. Like I love the St. Louis Museum of Art. Cincinnati's museum is fantastic. Louisville's is really good. Really just anything where I can walk around and get inspired. It's kind of, and I'm more of a classic kind of guy. A lot of the modern stuff doesn't tickle my fancy as much. Interesting to see, but it just doesn't do it for me the same way. I wish more men were into it too, and I think it's going to change. I think more guys will get into it. I'm seeing a lot of people didn't know it was an option, and seeing a lot of people just in general weren't familiar with what boudoir photography was. So I'm happy to be able to bring that to some people. It may not be everybody's cup of tea, and that's cool. But some people's, yes, and awesome. I've not been to Meow Wolf. I'm not familiar with what Meow Wolf is, but I'm gonna have to look it up. Thank you for loving the suit. So, just an off the rack suit jacket. The kilt is from Utilakilts. This is the mocker, so it's them making fun of dockers, which we love. Um, yeah, and once I went into a kilt, yes, there is a kilt. The kilt inadvertently became branding. I started wearing a kilt 5 years ago, whatever, and then I got really active on social, and but they're also like crazy comfortable, like a crazy comfortable. Um, not this past New Year's, but the New Year's before. Uh, Oh yeah, kilt suit combo. I don't make, and I'll wear a tux with it too. I have different kilts that I do with the tux, and I should, if I was being really formal about it with kilt fashion, I would wear a different jacket that was cut higher so the back of the kilt showed. I just don't do that because I'm not that formal about things. But I will wear the tux with it. So 2 New Years ago, we went to one of our favorite restaurants for a thing, and I actually went in um, full a full tuxedo. I didn't wear my kilt, and this restaurant knows us, right? And so like the staff was like, "What are you wearing?" Absolutely not, right? So the next time we went to that restaurant, like a couple months later, the manager who we knew and like I photographed him, he's great. I think the world of him. My wife and I are sitting at the bar having a cocktail before he got there, and before the rest of the family got there, and he comes out and he's like, and the bar's packed. He's like, "I wouldn't say this to anybody else, but you better not be wearing pants." So I stand up from my bar stool, and I was in a tartan kilt with a sporran and the whole thing. So thank you. Thank you. I didn't wear the kilt when my wife and I got together. When my wife and I got together, I was still very cargo pants, t-shirts, and flannels. Um, I and told her, then I was like, I play a level 80 warlock, and she still married me. So we convinced her to be a paladin for a while. She hated it. Um, yeah, me too. Like a lot of guys like meet me and like they see me in the kilt and they go, "Oh, I would love to wear a kilt, but I, worried about what other people would say or whatever." For the most part, like everybody's really cool about the kilt, right? And you get questions, a lot of, "Are you Scottish?" A lot of things, what you expect, because how often do you see a 6'3", 290-pound dude walking around in a kilt, right? It's not often. But most people are really complimentary, but dudes are afraid. And same thing I talked about in the boudoir post. Guys are afraid their buddies are going to bust their balls, and which is too bad. And like really, most everybody's cool. And there've been a few people who aren't cool about it, mainly online. People who are safe behind a keyboard will get a little bit lippy. I did a post about this. What happened? It was years ago. I was at the grocery and I was loading my car after the thing, full kilt, whatever. And this old woman and old man come walking out, and I guess she thought I couldn't hear her, and so she's like, Henry, that man's wearing a dress," and like walks by, and I turn around, I'm like, "And I have the legs for it too," or something else, smart ass. And she looked mortified, as she should have. Most everybody's cool. I have had a few kilt lifters, like at a restaurant, had somebody, try to see if I'm wearing it properly. So you run into some of that. You get a lot of people asking about your underwear. That happens a lot, which, I'll throw it back at their face and we're like, "So are you wearing underwear under that thing?" And I'll be like, "Are you?" And then they're like, like, you would never ask anybody else on the planet if they're wearing underwear. Why are you asking me? That's weird. So, yes, anonymity will make people say just about anything. Certainly things they wouldn't say to me if they met me in person. Oh, look at my phone battery going low. Holy cow. Yes, there's a few of us kilt wearers in Kentucky. Thank you, Equinox. So I actually started wearing the Utilikilt because, okay, so I hate wearing shorts. That's how it all started. Like I'll wear shorts to the gym and that's about it. I was rehabbing this studio because this place was rough when I took it. And I was up on the ceiling working a lot and I was hot. And it struck me, there is a rigging company here in town that called ZFX. They fly things for theater and concerts and the Olympics. And like, there's a good chance if you've seen something flying on a big show or whatever, ZFX probably did that work, right? So that entire crew wears Utilikilts. And I knew all the guys down at ZFX. I've worked with them. They're fantastic. So as I'm up in the ceiling, sweating, I was like, oh, right, utility-kilts. So that's how it started. So there's a whole crew of us. And then there's also a group of like Catholic, like the Hibernians. I knew nothing about the Hibernians until my wife converted to Catholicism. But like they have their kilty thing. So there's a few of us around. If you've not worn one, highly suggest it. Check out Utility-kilts. Tell them I sent you. You will get no discount. I am not sponsored. I just like them a lot, and they know me. USA Kilts is also great. I get my my tartan kilts from USA Kilts. Think the world of them too. So, all right, y'all. I hate to do this. My phone battery has dipped, and I'm afraid I'm going to lose you. So I'm going to wrap this up. I've been babbling for an hour. You all put up with me for an hour 15. God bless you. Yep, like Utility-kilt. Yeah, check that. They have a bunch of different styles of stuff. The great thing about Utility-kilts that a real kilt doesn't have, a standard kilt doesn't have. We've got pockets, right? So I don't have to wear the sporran with these. So thank you all so much for hanging out. This was awesome. I'm trying to do these every Friday, like sometime between 12 and 1. If you have questions on anything, post questions for me, because it also makes making videos easier. Thank you all so much. Have a great weekend. And I will do Q&A about photography live. And I do them every Friday. You can ask me these anytime. I'm streaming on 2 different platforms. So yeah, Q&A every week. And I talk about anything. So it's photography, it's life. You want to talk dog training, we'll talk it. So, all right, y'all, have a good one. I appreciate it. Have a good weekend. You too, YouTube.